Welcome back, Heat Seekers. It is the IDP Waiver Wire pickups you need for Week 5 this year. We are going to help you try to find some hidden gems or maybe some guys that are producing well currently that you may want to target, that you should target if you need this help. With that being said, let's get to it. Kraig, who's the first guy we're talking about?
Yeah, the first guy we're going to talk about today is a guy you know pretty well. He's a rookie, and he isn't getting a ton of playing time, so this is more of a pickup for stash if you can later in the year because he's going to get more playing time here. It's Derrick Barnes, the Detroit Lions. His snap share has only been 9 and 15% the first 2 weeks, but then 48 and 31%, sort of splitting the past 2 weeks with Jalen Reeves-Maybin once Jamie Collins left the team. But he's had some production. He's had 3 solos and assists in week 3, and then 5 solos and 1 tackle for a loss last week, week 4 against the Bears. He's producing better than Reeves-Maybin, and they kind of know what they have in him, and he's not really the answer. So they're going to be looking more for the future here. And Barnes is a guy that showed really well in preseason. They have big hopes out of him, a 4th-round rookie out of Purdue. So if you have a place to stash him, I think he's going to be sort of picking up more playing time in the next few weeks here. And unfortunately, as the season probably progresses, as we've seen for the Lions, he'll be seeing the field more. So I really like him as an ad at this point. He's basically unowned all over. And if you're able to stash him, I do think he'll have redraft value coming up here soon with bye weeks.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you saw it in the game. For anybody who watched the Chicago game, you're probably a Lions fan, I'd guess, or a Bears fan. But, they're easing him in, because we have to remember he's still a rookie, but he's super athletic. Not Jared Davis bad when it comes to overrunning plays. I mean, he's pretty instinctive. So you're absolutely right. Definitely a guy that you'll want to stash in the back end of your bench for the future. Who are we going to next?
Next is a guy that does have more usage right now, and especially with bye weeks coming up, not in week 5, but in week 6, the bye weeks are going to start, and he's on bye that week. So again, it's probably either play this next week or stashing for the bye weeks coming up. It's Azeez Al-Shaair for the 49ers. He's sort of the second linebacker right now for them after Fred Werner, but he is producing. He has 17 solos, 15 assists, 3 tackles for a loss, and 2 pass deflections on a 91% snap share over 4 weeks. So he is second fiddle to Fred Werner, but they do have 2 linebackers that can get you starter-worthy potential, whether he's a back-end linebacker 2 or if you start 3 or a flex, definitely he's worth having on your team there. But again, this is around the time you want to be thinking more than just the next week ahead, and with bye weeks coming up, you want to make sure you have people that you're going to feel all right starting. And he's certainly a guy that's producing well enough to be sort of, a flex or back-end linebacker starter. With bye weeks, he's definitely someone that's going to be worth starting. And again, someone that's almost unknown in all leagues right now.
Absolutely correct. And you're seeing that a guy like this is, like you said, nearly free. I mean, this is the type of play you want to go after. Somebody who you can see the rest of the year having playing time because he's doing a good job and performing well. All right, who's the next linebacker we want to talk about?
Yeah, our last linebacker is going to be another rookie, but he's getting some more playing time here, and I think that's going to just continue from where it's at. It's Pete Werner of the New Orleans Saints. He's a rookie out of Ohio State that wasn't talked about a whole lot. We did talk about him a bit in our rookie draft guide and also on our shows before and after the draft, but he's sort of already started being the second linebacker for the Saints. Of course, Demario Davis is the main guy there. But 2020 rookie Zach Bond, he was like a 3rd rounder. He hasn't shown much of anything. And then the other guy who was sort of splitting time with was Caden Ellis, but he was a 7th rounder in 2019. And he being Werner, played more snaps than the 2 of them combined this past week at 63%. He had 6 solos, 4 assists, and a tackle for a loss, which is great to see out of that second linebacker position. Again, a guy that they're trying to sort of ease in a little bit, but they're throwing more into, the situation now because they do want to have their best guys on the field, and he's showing to be their best second linebacker. So maybe not someone you're going to completely trust right now to be in there every week. You want to see a little bit more consistent production for a few weeks, but it's trending towards that way, and you want to make sure you're getting on these guys earlier as opposed to, trying to spend a whole lot later on for them in free agent acquisition dollars.
Well, and when you look at him, he's grading out really well. If if not fantasy related, but PFF related, the guy's, I think, like in the mid 80s overall grade wise. I mean, he's doing very well against the run. He does pretty well in coverage. I mean, pass rush is kind of the area that he dips a little bit. But, these are all positive signs for a rookie, and he's going to see plenty of playing time, or should at least, as the season progresses.
Yep.
All right, so moving to the secondary, who are we talking about?
Yeah, we're going to talk about a guy who isn't owned enough. He should be owned in most leagues. At this point, it's Daniel Sorensen is our first guy for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's been one of their starting safeties for a while, and in your deeper leagues, he probably is owned if you really get into the minutia of IDP leagues. But for your standard leagues, he's free in a lot of those too right now. 9% on Yahoo is nothing. And he's averaging about 6 solos and 2 assists a week, which is sort of a great floor through 4 weeks at your safety position. Of course, teams are going to be throwing a lot against the Chiefs for the most part, and they're playing the Bills coming up this next week, and they give up loads of points to opposing secondaries and safeties specifically. So if Sorensen is available in your leagues, he's certainly someone that is going to have rest of the season value too, even if you're just getting them for a week right now.
Well, and isn't he tied for first in the league with solo tackles? I think he's got in the 20s somewhere. I mean, he's getting a lot of tackles.
Yeah. And
all right.
That whole secondary has value. I mean, the cornerbacks are nice too, and it's a situation that you want to be looking to.
Oh, for sure. All right, so who's next in the secondary that we need to make sure we pick up?
Yeah, this one, it's sort of put a little asterisk by it because it's someone that you will want to pick up if the prior starter is still out, and keep an eye on the situation. It's Deon Bush of the Chicago Bears. He's basically unowned all over as well, but he's had 100% snap share the past 2 weeks with Tayshaun Gibson out. He had 5 solos and assists and a pass deflection week 3. And this last week against the Lions, who we just mentioned, 6 solos and 3 assists. He is, the past 2 weeks, the best producing safety. Eddie Jackson's been there for a while and had a couple really good years and then just sort of fallen off and not doing a whole lot of what people had expected out of him. And I think they, sort of eat into each other a little bit. But Bush has played very well in terms of fantasy production. And if Gibson's out, I really expect that to continue for him.
Well, yeah, especially when people are not targeting Johnson very much. Vildor's starting to step up a little more. Teams are starting to target more towards the middle of the field and the deeper part of the field. So that gives him the opportunity for more tackles. So it's a good play.
And they play the Raiders coming up in week 5, and we know that we'll probably see it tonight too. This is Monday night against the Chargers, but Derrick Carr's been chucking the ball and really efficient for them, so they'll probably get a lot of opportunity next week as well.
Absolutely. All right, so what corner are we talking about?
Yeah, there were a few that I was looking at here, and this week we're going with Anthony Brown, of course, of the Dallas Cowboys. He's sort of the second starter for him. First of all, he's opposite of Trayvon Diggs, who's the bigger name guy. Kind of funny. He and his brother I saw was Stephon Diggs both have a catch in the first 4 weeks. So, teams are going to start probably shying away a little bit for Trayvon Diggs more than they have, which gives more opportunity for Brown potentially as one of the cornerbacks. They do play a lot of 3 cornerbacks. But the Cowboys, of course, are putting up points, which is good for their secondary in terms of fantasy production. Week 5 brings the Giants, who are already top 10 in points allowed to opposing cornerbacks. And he has at least 4 solos each of the 4 weeks so far, and then 1 pass deflection at least in 3 out of the 4 weeks. So he's getting you consistent production again, which I like to see that out of the secondary in general, but especially at the cornerback position. If you have to play a guy that's going to be getting you those sort of floor tackles that you want, so you're not taking a 0 out of position, is really nice to see. And I think Brown will continue that against the Giants coming up.
Well, and surprisingly enough, he grades out as their best corner right now. So, if you can pick up what's arguably their best graded corner, if that matters to you, there's something to that.
And he's, 100% snap share each of the, first 4 weeks, which again, opportunity is going to be there.
Mm-hmm. All right. So finishing up with the defensive line, who are we talking about?
Another one of your guys, so to speak, Charles Harris. Depending on where you look, he could be an edge, he could be a defensive lineman or a linebacker, or have the dual eligibility like they do in a lot of places right now, because those sort of edge guys for the Lions, they put their hand in the dirt, they stand up, they do all sorts of different stuff. They really are hybrid. Trey Flowers has been out 2 weeks, one of their starting edge, 2 weeks in a row with a shoulder and knee issue, so he's already banged up. And then unfortunately, Romeo isn't going to save your day with Achilles tendon tear for a guy that just got a nice contract and been playing well for you. So hopefully he bounces back and gets a full recovery for that, because you just hate to see it. And someone needs to do a look into all these Achilles tendon tears, and I'm sure that they are in the medical community, because it just seems crazy. We've had like 6 or 7 that I can think of off the top of my head this year. Mm-hmm. For fantasy production wise, Charles Harris, he was a big name pick years back. I think it was by the Dolphins, but he never really lived up to his draft. I think he was taken in the teens, if memory serves. But he's shown up and actually responded well to the opportunity here in the coaching staff in Detroit. Past 2 weeks with, sort of these injuries going on, he's at a 78 and 90% snap shares. And after the first game of the season, he's had 3 weeks in a row of at least a solo, an assist, and a sack. And he's graded out really well just across the NFL in terms of winning pass rush attempts, rushing the passer. So more of a sort of deeper league player if you need someone to help on your defensive line that's going to get you potential points, because opportunity is going to be there with Aquara out for the year and Fowler sort of up in the air. And, he's been getting it done. So it's sort of a riding the hot hand situation here where they face the Vikings, I believe, in week 5.
Yep, they do. And with all these injuries, Harris is going to keep seeing a pretty significant amount of snaps. So it's smart play at this point. All right, so who is next?
Yeah, a guy that we've said we're not big fans of, and I'm still not for fantasy-wise. But if you're in a balanced scoring or big play league, Dante Fowler has shown up and actually been getting some stats for the Falcons. I think part of it's just by the sheer amount that they're on defense and the way that teams are putting up points on them. But he's averaging about a 70% snap share, which is, right up there. There's 2 main edge rushers they have, which is him and Means. But Fowler's getting the production. After week 1, he has had at least 1 sack or a tackle for a loss, which is why, it sort of matters in those big play leagues. He'll get you, maybe a solo or an assist here or there. But they play the Jets. And we all know that defenses are putting up points against the Jets. They're able to get pressure. So I really like this situation. And again, I'm not really targeting Fowler for a week in, week out sort of play, but it's a good matchup. And if you're needing help due to injuries or you're just not happy with what you're getting out of your production, as we see in a lot of IDP leagues this year, he's a guy you could look to for a week and then just sort of pay attention to the schedule coming up.
Absolutely. All right. And what defensive tackle are we bringing up this week?
Yeah, it's a bit unusual that we're talking about someone from the defensive line of the Rams that isn't Aaron Donald, but Aaron Donald, of course, is owned in every league, I would think. Sebastian Joseph Day is not. He's their nose tackle. And again, usually you're not getting a whole lot of production out of those guys. But he is the player on the defensive line that is getting the most in terms of snap share after Aaron Donald. And he's also getting production. He's had at least 1 solo and 1 assist in every week. And half the games that he's played, he's had at least 6 solos, which is huge for someone in a defensive tackle league. You're really only going to be looking at him in those interior alignment or defensive tackle required leagues. He's not a guy that's going to be up there competing with your average defensive lineman for the course of the year. But they are playing the Seahawks in week 5, who are top 12 in points allowed to opposing defensive tackles. When you include that other information, what Aaron Donald, of course, is going to get the majority of attention from the offensive line, and this guy is producing in terms of tackles. I think he's going to give you a nice floor play for the week if you're looking for that. And again, sort of like cornerback, you don't want to be taking a 0. He's a guy that this year hasn't shown that he's going to be giving you that. And he has the potential, if you're getting, 4 or 5 solos out of a guy in the defensive tackle required league, that's a nice set of points for you.
Yeah, and he, and he's getting just a ton of snaps. I think he's averaging over 45, 46 snaps a game on defense. So that's opportunity, getting tackles and all that. So that's a smart move if you need D-tackle help.
Yeah, he's sitting around like a 67% share on the season, which is about as consistent as you're going to get for some not big name guy like Aaron Donald.
Right, for sure. So that's it, folks. There are your linebackers, secondary, some defensive linemen. If you have trouble or you need help making decisions like this, comment below. Let us know if there's any guys that you see out there that you think we need to be talking about. Bring it up in the comments. Comment. Shows YouTube you like it. Don't forget, like, subscribe, do all the things you do. And like the banner at the bottom saying, check out rotoheat.com. You can see all of Kraig's great articles and any other IDP stuff we throw out there. And we'll talk to you again soon.